Hey, welcome to Foriegner in the Philippines. Well, if you've been following our videos, you know that we've had our quarantine madness projects, which have been mainly about building. And I'm a former, please excuse the state of this thing, this case I bought when I came over here. When I came over and we came to Cebu, I found a really nice guitar shop, and I used to go in there and look at the guitars. Now, I've had a love-hate relationship with the guitar for the longest time. When I say love-hate, I love it, it hates me. I'm actually a former, well, you're never a former anything in music because it haunts you. If you can play, you end up playing no matter what. Well, I always thought that the trombone, which is my instrument, it's a single note at a time instrument, and it's not an accompanying. You can't accompany yourself while you speak. It's very difficult to sing and play the trombone at the same time. Although sometimes when I'm singing, it sounds like I should be playing the trombone. What's that saying? As a trombone player, he was a good singer, and as a singer, he wasn't a bad trombone player. So, what I'm trying to do is at least make this look a little bit respectable while I talk to you about the fact that I always used to say I would give anything to play the guitar, and I've started to learn on several occasions, and this is it's not something that's special to me. I know a lot of people start to do all kinds of things and then give up. Well, my problem was maybe slightly different to some other people's, and that is with the guitar, I'm not sure that I even have an aptitude for it, but then that's because when I took up the trombone, even though the story of how I came to take up the trombone is a strange one. I actually joined the army when I was 15 and a half, and I joined the army when I was 15 and a half, but I didn't really join the army. I joined an army band, a military band, and I actually wanted to play the trumpet. That was what I really wanted to do. That's because as a child I had seen Eddie Calvert, whose marketing was Eddie Calvert, the man with the golden trumpet, and apparently his trumpet was gold plated. Well, anybody could have been fooled on that, because when I got my first trombone, it looked like it was gold plated because they made it brass. So anyway, I wanted to play. When my father wrote to the band of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and he asked them would they be interested in taking his son, and he offered me on the slab. Okay, so I went along and did the exam, which you didn't have to be terribly bright to get into the British Army, especially at 15. I could have had the IQ of a dining room chair and I would still have got in. So anyway, I was accepted and I went to play music, which my father knew that I was crazy about doing, but I'd never been able to afford an instrument. So I went and I told the bandmaster, I wrote to the bandmaster, because I was at the boys' school at first. I went to Stirling Castle, which is the headquarters of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders, and from there I went to Germany. Very briefly I went to Germany. I went from there to Edinburgh, and I was in Edinburgh for a very, very short time. and it was from there that I found out that they were not going to let me play the trumpet, and the other kids at that school said, hey, you should play the trombone, that's a great instrument. And they said, make sure that you play the tenor trombone, which was all new to me. Tenor trombone, any other trombone. So I wrote back to the bandmaster and said, well, if that's the case, I would like to play the tenor trombone. And he wrote back and said that would work out fine. The first trombone that I had was what we call a pea shooter, and that is a very quite beautiful, antique, ornate, silver-plated instrument, which made more noise with the slide moving up and down than I could make blowing through the thing. Well, eventually I did find that I had an aptitude for it, and that's what gets me back to the guitar. My biggest aptitude on this that I've displayed so far is in being able to clean up the soft case. Well, when I show you that this is actually quite a beautiful guitar, I'll show you this on the next video. We'll see what happens. The guitar is a fabulous instrument, and I love flamenco music. I love what I call percussive, amplified music that's played on some of the guitars nowadays, which is where they actually beat and use the instrument itself as part of the percussion, and I love those pieces that I've seen, and oh boy, wouldn't I just love to be able to play like that. I very quickly realized with the guitar that I was willing, back then, I was willing to do anything to play the guitar, except one thing, and that was give up my time. And the only way that you can make any progress, well, on anything, but especially on a musical instrument, is by devoting a given amount of time, be it 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, if you can stand it. 2 hours would get really good progress, and whatever you lacked in aptitude, which is what I've been talking about, I'm thinking, or at least hoping, that will prove to come, that you will develop with time put in. You devote the time to something, you invest the time, and it will pay back. It will repay you. So, after showing you my disgustingly dusty, this tells you how much I've been working on the guitar. I did start work, and then I gave up because we found all kinds of reasons for why I didn't have time to play. And so it got put in the case, and it's been stuck somewhere, God knows where, gathering dust. Well, I've taken the dust off the case, which is the very, very first baby step. And I'll be back and I'll show you. This is actually quite a beautiful guitar to my inexperienced eye. It's actually a beautiful guitar. This was one of the best guitars in the shop, which I know that there'll be guitarists out there who'll say, Terence, they saw you coming. I think I paid, not sure now, it's a long time ago. It's been sitting there for a long time. But I think I paid 5,000 pesos for this. Sounds about right. I think I paid 5,000 pesos. Now, I do regret that I didn't buy a trombone. When I was with Beth in the ICM mall, I think it was the ICM mall. We went in there. It was one of the malls. It may have been Alturas in Tagbilaran, and they actually had a Japanese trombone. Japanese make fine trombones. I've already bought a cheap Chinese trombone. The Chinese do not make fine trombones, or as far as I know, any fine instruments other than you can buy guitars that were made in China that are very good, and you can also buy cellos. I used to have a cello, and that was a Chinese made instrument. But the trombone was 25,000 pesos, which at the time was a great deal of money, and they wouldn't let me try it because I didn't have a mouthpiece with me. Who carries a trombone mouthpiece around with them? Anyway, I later bought the cheap Chinese trombone, and it's not a pleasure to play, so it's never been played. I realised that had I bought the instrument for 25,000, which I was allowed to examine it and look at it and check the slide out and all of that, and it was a nice instrument, I feel. I wish that I'd bought it now, and it's not even easy to go back and check up. I don't know how many people are buying trombones in this country. Maybe some students, but whether they would be able to go to 25,000 for a trombone, I don't know. But possibly if it's still there when we are allowed to go without too many regulations to Cebu, I probably will buy it. And I'll play it occasionally, even though it's not really an occasional instrument. You need to put time in on a brass instrument. The muscles around the lips, around the mouth generally, are numerous. They are numerous, and they fatigue very easily if you're not using them. And you use them in a particular way. You press, not too hard, but you do press the mouthpiece and the instrument against your mouth, and your stamina goes out the window very, very quickly. But we'll see about that. I did make a half-hearted effort, and I cleaned up the Chinese trombone and got it working as much. But the more that I cleaned it, the more that I looked at it and worked with it, the more I realized it was a dog. But it was only 8,000 pesos. So as I said to Beth, well, I'll buy it, and if I don't like it, I could always donate it to the school. The school has a band, and I'm sure that there's some kid there that would think it was the Rolls Royce of trombones if he had it. So we'll see what happens on that. That's another story. So I'm going to put this away. Thanks for looking in. And I will be doing a video on opening this and showing you this, the guitar, and you can have a look at the step-by-step, very, very baby steps, I can tell you. So thanks for looking in. I'll be back.